Hi, I'm Kenzie. 3 days ago, I gave birth to the most beautiful baby girl in the world, Lily. After 36 hours of labor, I was exhausted but blissfully happy, watching my daughter sleep in the hospital bassinet next to my bed. My best friend Zoe had just left after bringing me fresh clothes and my favorite snacks, promising to return in the morning to drive us home. "Get some rest while you can," Nurse Deanna told me with a knowing smile as she checked my vitals. "Trust me, you're going to need it." I know. I laughed, settling back against my pillows. "Everyone keeps telling me that." "Because it's the truth," she winked. "Your little one is perfect, by the way. All the nurses are fighting over who gets to check on her." "Thanks for taking such good care of us," I said, feeling my eyelids growing heavy. "That's what we're here for. The night nurse Miguel will be checking in soon. Just press the call button if you need anything." I must have dozed off because the next thing I knew, I was jolted awake by the sound of the door opening. The room was dim, lit only by the muted light above my bed. Assuming it was Miguel coming to check on us, I didn't open my eyes immediately. "She's so beautiful," a hushed voice whispered. "Just perfect." Something about the voice sent a chill down my spine. It wasn't Miguel. It wasn't anyone who should be in my room at... I glanced at the clock. 2:17 in the morning. I opened my eyes to see my father's new wife, Stephanie, standing over Lily's bassinet. My heart nearly stopped when I saw her carefully lifting my daughter. "What are you doing?" I demanded, fully awake now and pushing myself upright. Stephanie jumped, clutching Lily awkwardly to her chest. My daughter began to whimper. "Oh, Kenzie, you startled me," she said with a nervous laugh. "I just wanted to hold her. Isn't she precious?" "How did you even get in here?" I asked, reaching for the call button. "It's the middle of the night. Visiting hours ended hours ago." "I told the desk I was your sister," she said, still not making any move to put Lily back. "Your father wanted pictures." "Dad knows I'm not ready for visitors yet," I said, my pulse racing. "We agreed he'd come tomorrow. Put Lily back in her bassinet. Now." Something changed in Stephanie's expression. The smile remained, but her eyes hardened. "She looks just like my Emma would have," she whispered, rocking my increasingly fussy daughter. "Same little nose, same tiny fingers." I knew about Emma, the baby Stephanie had lost during pregnancy 2 years ago, before she met my father. Dad had mentioned it once, explaining why they'd gotten married so quickly despite dating for only 6 months. But this was something else entirely. "I'm sorry about Emma," I said carefully, inching toward the call button. "But Lily is my daughter. Please put her down." "Shh, it's okay, Emma," Stephanie cooed to my baby, ignoring me completely. "Mama's here now." Terror shot through me as Stephanie turned toward the door, still holding Lily. "Where are you going?" I demanded, lunging forward despite the pain from my C-section. "Stephanie, stop!" "We're just going for a little walk," she said, her voice eerily calm. "Don't worry about us." I hit the call button repeatedly, then shouted for help. "She's taking my baby! Someone help!" The door burst open and Miguel rushed in, quickly assessing the situation. "Ma'am, I need you to hand that baby back to her mother right now," he said firmly to Stephanie. "But she's mine," Stephanie insisted, backing toward the wall. "Look at her, she looks just like me." "Security to room 307 now," Miguel said into his radio, never taking his eyes off Stephanie. "Ma'am, please place the baby back in her bassinet." What followed was chaos. Security arrived, then the police. My father was called. I held Lily, shaking and crying, while Zoe, who had rushed to the hospital after my frantic call, sat beside me, her arm around my shoulders. "I can't believe this," Zoe whispered as we watched the police handcuff Stephanie in the hallway. "Your dad's only been married to her for what, 8 months?" 7, I corrected, kissing Lily's forehead. "I never liked her, but I never thought she'd—" I couldn't finish the sentence. Detective Lisa Morris entered my room, her expression compassionate but professional. "Miss Walker, I'm Detective Morris. If you're up to it, I'd like to ask you a few questions about what happened tonight." And that's how my journey into the most unexpected legal battle of my life began. with my newborn daughter in my arms and my stepmother in handcuffs. So she just walked right into the maternity ward? Zoe asked the next morning as she helped me pack my things. We'd been moved to a different room after the incident, with a security officer stationed outside. Apparently, she told the receptionist she was my sister, I explained, wincing as I bent to pick up Lily's blanket. Dad says she's been obsessed with my pregnancy, but he thought it was just excitement about being a grandmother. Step-grandmother, Zoe corrected sharply. And that doesn't explain trying to walk out with your baby at 2 a.m. The door opened, and my father walked in, looking like he'd aged a decade overnight. His eyes were red-rimmed, his normally neat hair disheveled. "Kenzie," he said, his voice breaking. "I don't even know what to say." "You could start with how your wife managed to convince herself my baby was hers," I suggested, unable to keep the edge from my voice. Dad collapsed into the chair beside my bed. "I had no idea she was this unwell. She's been seeing a therapist since Emma, but she told me she was doing better. Last night, she said she was going to visit her sister in Portland." "Well, she came here instead," Zoe muttered. Dad looked at her sharply. "I know you've never liked Stephanie, but she needs help, not judgment." "She needs jail time," Zoe shot back. "She tried to kidnap Lily." "Both of you, please," I interrupted, glancing at my sleeping daughter. "This isn't helping." A knock at the door preceded Detective Morris, who entered with a tablet in hand. "Miss Walker, Mr. Walker," she nodded. "I have some information you should know." "Did you find something?" Dad asked anxiously. "We searched Mrs. Walker's personal effects and found several concerning items," Detective Morris said, swiping through photos on her tablet. A birth announcement she'd created with the name Emma Walker, baby clothes with that name embroidered on them, and a nursery set up in your spare bedroom, Mr. Walker. Dad's face drained of color. "What? There's no nursery in our house?" "It's quite elaborate," Detective Morris continued, showing us photos of a fully decorated pink and white nursery. "According to timestamps on the delivery receipts we found, it was set up about 3 weeks ago." "That's when I was put on bed rest," I said quietly. "She knew my due date was coming up." "I had no idea," Dad whispered. "I work such long hours and that room is at the end of the hall. She told me she was using it for crafting." "She was crafting, all right," Zoe snorted. "Crafting a plan to steal Kenzie's baby." "We also found these," Detective Morris added, showing us photos of what looked like social media posts. She created fake accounts where she announced the birth of her daughter Emma. She even photoshopped ultrasound images with her name on them. "Oh my God," I breathed, instinctively reaching for Lily's bassinet to make sure she was still there. "Mr. Walker, when was the last time you saw your wife's therapist?" Detective Morris asked. Dad looked confused. "I've never met her therapist. Stephanie said she preferred to keep that private." Detective Morris nodded as if this confirmed something. "We can't find any record of her seeing a licensed therapist in the last 6 months. The name she gave you doesn't match any practicing therapist in the state." "So she's been lying about getting help too," I said, the pieces falling into place. "What happens now?" "Mrs. Walker is being held pending arraignment," Detective Morris explained. "She'll undergo a psychiatric evaluation, but regardless of her mental state, attempting to remove an infant from a hospital is a serious crime." After Detective Morris left, promising to keep us updated, an uncomfortable silence fell over the room. "Dad," I finally said, "I need you to understand something. I'm filing for a restraining order against Stephanie, for me and for Lily. Kenzie, she needs help. And she'll get it," I interrupted firmly. "But my priority is protecting my daughter. If you can't support that, then I need you to leave." Dad looked torn, his eyes moving between me and Lily. "She's my wife," he said weakly. "And this is your granddaughter," I countered, feeling my heart break a little. "The granddaughter your wife tried to steal. She's sick, Kenzie. She's not thinking clearly." Zoe stepped forward. "With all due respect, Mr. Walker, being mentally ill doesn't give anyone the right to kidnap a baby. Stephanie needs both help and consequences." Dad stood up, shoulders slumped. "I need time to process this. I'll call you later. As he left, I exchanged glances with Zoe. He'll come around, she assured me, squeezing my hand. He has to. I hope so, I whispered, because right now, I need all the support I can get. 2 weeks after bringing Lily home, Detective Morris called to inform me that Stephanie wanted to meet. Despite my reservations, I agreed, needing closure. The detention center felt cold and sterile as I followed Detective Morris to a small conference room. Stephanie sat there in an orange jumpsuit, her appearance noticeably diminished. "Kenzie," she said, eyes brightening. "Thank you for coming." "I'm here to listen," I replied flatly. "That's all." "How's the baby? Is she doing well?" "Lily is fine," I emphasized her name deliberately. "She's with her godmother." "Why did you do it?" I asked directly, not wanting to prolong this. Stephanie's eyes welled up. "When I lost Emma, something broke inside me. Then your pregnancy? It felt like the universe was giving me another chance." "Another chance at what? Taking someone else's child?" I know it sounds crazy now, but in my mind, it made sense. You're young. You could have more children. I only had one chance. "That wasn't your choice to make," I said, my voice trembling. "You have no idea what this has done to me. I can't sleep without checking on her constantly." "I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking straight. But I'm getting help now," she pleaded. "If you could talk to your father, tell him I'm still the woman he—" "Stop," I interrupted. "I didn't come here to help repair your marriage. I needed to see if you understand what you did was wrong." "Of course I do. But we could still be a family. You, me, your father, and Lily." "No," I stood firmly. "There is no you, me, him, and Lily. I've filed for a permanent restraining order, and I will testify at your trial." Her sympathetic facade crumbled instantly. "Your father won't like that. He still loves me." "That's his choice, but I have to protect my daughter, even from her grandfather if necessary." "You always were selfish," she snapped. "Your father told me how you pushed everyone away." "We're done here," I said to Detective Morris, turning to leave. "You can't keep her from her family," Stephanie called after me. "She needs a grandmother." I paused at the door. "She has a grandmother. My mother. What she doesn't need is someone who sees her as a replacement for their own loss." Walking out was both the hardest and easiest thing I'd done since becoming a mother. 6 months later, I sat in the courtroom as the judge sentenced Stephanie to 5 years with possibility of parole after 3. My father sat across the aisle, our first time in the same room since he'd chosen to stand by her despite everything. As people filed out, Dad approached, careful to maintain the distance required by the restraining order. "How is she? Lily, I mean." "She's good," I said, softening slightly. "She's sitting up now, babbling constantly." "I filed for divorce last week," he said, surprising me. "You did?" "I was wrong," he admitted, eyes downcast. "I was trying to honor my vows, but watching her in court today, she could have hurt Lily. She wasn't thinking about what was best for that baby." "It took you long enough," I couldn't help saying. "I know. I don't expect forgiveness right away. But maybe someday you'll let me be part of Lily's life." I hesitated. "I need time. But maybe eventually we can arrange supervised visits." Relief washed over his face. "That's more than I deserve. Thank you." Outside, Zoe waited with Lily in a carrier, my mother beside them. Mom had moved in with me after the incident, creating a stable home for Lily. "She got 5 years," I reported, "and Dad's filed for divorce." "Better late than never," Mom remarked. "He wants to see Lily." "Eventually," I told him we'd start with supervised visits. "That's your decision," Mom said. "But remember, you don't owe him anything." "I know, but Lily deserves to know her grandfather. Once I'm sure she'll be safe." That evening, rocking Lily to sleep, I reflected on how much had changed. The terror from that night had faded to an occasional ache rather than a constant pain. My phone buzzed with a text from Zoe. "Coffee tomorrow? The new place on Main?" I smiled, typing back, "Yes, please." 10 a.m.? Lily yawned, her tiny hand wrapping around my finger. "It's just you and me, little one," I whispered. "Well?" "And Grandma and Auntie Zoe and maybe someday Grandpa too. Our own little family. We're going to be just fine." As I laid her in her crib, I thought about all we'd overcome. The case was closed, Stephanie was where she needed to be, and I was finally feeling secure again. I had protected my daughter. I had stood my ground. Most importantly, I had built a support system of people who truly cared for us. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, listening to Lily's steady breathing and knowing she was safe, that was enough. What would you do if someone you trusted betrayed you in the worst possible way? How far would you go to protect the ones you love? Sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that teach us who we truly are.